telling my parents they can no longer stay at my house. When I was growing up in the United Kingdom, my house never felt peaceful. My parents were always stressed and strict. They did not argue loudly, but there was always a quiet tension between them. As a child, I never really felt at ease. I was careful about everything I did, always trying to keep the peace. Even though my parents stayed together, it never felt like they loved each other. They were more like roommates who had to live together. They had their own ways of doing things and never seemed to agree. This made life uncomfortable, not just for them, but also for me. When I became an adult, I wanted a new life, a different kind of home, one that felt safe and calm. That is why, when I met my spouse and we decided to get married, I moved across the ocean to the United States. It was not an easy decision, but I believed it would give me the fresh start I had always wanted. I imagined a peaceful life, surrounded by people I loved and who made me feel happy. We now have children, and I love being a parent. I try hard to give my kids a better childhood than I had. I want them to feel relaxed at home, free to be themselves, and never afraid of being judged or scolded over small things. My spouse and I work as a team, and our house runs on love, patience, and kindness. But there is one thing that still brings stress into my life: my parents' visits every year. My mom and dad each come and stay at our house for about a month. Yes, that means 2 full months every year, with either my mom or my dad living with us. They do not come together because they cannot get along. They refuse to be in the same place at the same time, so their visits are always separate. We do have space in the house for them to stay, but that does not mean I feel comfortable having them here. The moment one of them arrives, I feel like I am a child again in Edge, watching what I say and feeling nervous in my own home. It is hard to explain, but I do not feel like I belong in my own house when they are here. It feels like I am walking on eggshells all over again. They say they are here to spend time with their grandkids, and I understand that. I truly do. But it always ends up feeling like I am the one doing all the work. They expect me to feed them, drive them places, and take care of their needs. My dad, for example, always wants to borrow a car while he is here. We live in a rural area with no public buses or taxis, so I understand why he needs one. But when he got upset because my extra car had a dead battery and I would not let him take my only working car, I felt pushed too far. He acted like I was being selfish for not giving up my car, even though I needed it to take the kids to school and run errands. It was frustrating. And this happens every year when I try to talk to them about maybe staying somewhere else, like a local Airbnb. The conversation turns into guilt. My mom says things like, "So you are going to bar me from seeing my grandchildren? Or you chose to move thousands of miles away? Now you have to make it work." It is always about what I owe them, never about how I feel, never about how I am doing. There are not many hotels in our area, and the few Airbnbs can be a bit pricey. My parents say they cannot afford to stay anywhere else. So, in their minds, the only option is for them to stay with us. If I say no, they say I am cutting them off completely. But it should not be all or nothing. I am not saying they cannot visit. I am just saying they cannot live in my house for a whole month anymore. It is not healthy for me. I am exhausted trying to make them feel welcome when I do not feel comfortable myself. They say they are here to help, but their idea of help is taking the kids to the park a few times a week and maybe emptying the dishwasher once a day. It is not what I need. I need emotional peace. I need quiet mornings and relaxed evenings. I need space to breathe in my own home. Every visit leaves me feeling more tired, more drained. I find myself counting down the days until they leave, and that is not how it should be. My home should be a place where I can relax, a place where I feel like I have to perform. I know it is a hard conversation to have, but I think it is time. I need to tell my parents that they can no longer stay at my house. I want to be honest but kind. I want to set a boundary that protects my peace without cutting them out completely. It is not about keeping them away from their grandchildren. It is about me finally standing up for my own needs for the first time in my life. I do not know how they will react. I imagine there will be guilt, maybe even anger. But I cannot keep sacrificing my comfort and well-being just to keep them happy. Not anymore. I love them, but I need to love myself too. After thinking about it for days, I finally decided to talk to my parents. I knew it would not be easy. I was nervous, but I also knew it was time. I could not keep living in fear of there. I could not keep feeling like a guest in my own home. I started with my mother. She is the more emotional one, and I figured it would be best to talk to her first. I called her on a Sunday afternoon, when the house was quiet and the kids were outside playing. She answered right away, cheerful as always. "Hello, love. How are the little ones?" "They are fine," I said softly. "They just went out to the backyard. I wanted to talk to you about something." "Oh, what is it?" Her voice changed slightly. I could tell she sensed the seriousness in my tone. I took a deep breath. "Ma'am," I began, "I wanted to talk to you about the visits." She was quiet. "I've been thinking about it a lot, and I've realized that I just do not feel comfortable having people stay at the house anymore. It's not just you or Dad, it's anyone. I need to feel like my home is my own space." "You are saying I cannot stay there anymore?" she asked, her voice rising just a little. "It is not about you personally," I said, trying to stay calm. "It is just that when people stay here for long periods, it affects my routine, my sleep, my stress, everything. I have been struggling. Ma'am, I need to make a change." There was a long pause. Then came the words I feared most. "So you are keeping me from seeing my grandchildren now?" "No, ma'am," I said quickly. "You are always welcome to visit. I just need you to stay somewhere nearby, not inside the house. There are a few Airbnbs, maybe we can help with the cost if that's a problem." "That is not the point," she said sharply. "You moved far away from us. You chose to start a life across the world, and now you are closing the door on your own family?" Her words stung, even though I knew they were unfair. I'd heard them many times before. "I am not closing any doors," I said gently. "Just need to set some boundaries for my own health. I want the kids to have good memories of their grandparents. I want your visits to be happy for everyone. But right now, they are not happy for me." She sighed deeply. "Always were the sensitive one." I stayed quiet for a moment, holding back tears. "I am not trying to push you away," I whispered. "I am trying to take care of myself." The conversation ended soon after that. She said she needed time to think, and I understood. I felt a mix of relief and sadness. It was done, but it was not over. I knew more hard talks were coming next. I had to speak to my father. He was due to visit in just a few weeks, so I needed to talk to him right away. I waited until the next evening and called him after dinner. "Hi, Dad. Hey, kiddo. How are things over there?" I swallowed hard. "Dad, I need to talk about your upcoming visit." "Let me guess," he chuckled. "You are going to tell me the car battery is still dead?" "Oh," I said, forcing a small laugh. "This is more important. I wanted to let you know that, from now on, we will not be able to have anyone stay at the house. That includes you and Mom." There was silence on the other end. "I just need my home to be peaceful, Dad. When people stay for weeks, it gets hard. I know you need a car, and special meals and space, and I understand, but I need space too." "So, you are saying I cannot come?" he asked, clearly disappointed. "No," I said. "You can come. I want you to come. I just need you to stay somewhere nearby, like an Airbnb. I can help look into options." He sighed. That area has nothing. You know that? I do, I replied. But we will figure something out. I just cannot keep pretending it is fine when it is not. He was quiet for a long time. Then he said something that surprised me. I get it, you do. Yeah. Your mom and I, we are not easy to be around. I know that. We love you, but we have never made things simple. I just wish things were different. So do I said, blinking back tears. He did not say much after that. We talked a bit more, mostly about the kids and the weather. Then he said goodbye and hung up. It was not a warm goodbye, but it was not angry either. That night I lay awake in bed. My spouse reached over and held my hand. How did it go? They asked. Hard, I whispered. But I think it was the right thing. It was definitely the right thing, they said. I am proud of you. I was not used to standing up for myself. It felt scary and strange, but it also felt right. For the first time, I was putting my own peace first. I was choosing to make my home a safe space for me, for my kids, for our family. I knew things might be different now. Maybe my parents would visit less. Maybe they would be colder for a while. But I also knew that I could not keep living the way I had. I had spent too many years feeling anxious, trying to please everyone else. Now it was time to take care of myself, and even if my voice trembled while I spoke, at least I had finally found the courage to speak. The week after those difficult phone calls was quiet. Too quiet. My parents did not call, text, or email. There were no video chats asking to speak with the children, just silence. At first I felt nervous. I kept checking my phone, wondering if I had made everything worse. But slowly, I began to feel something else - peace. Our house felt calmer. The kids were laughing, playing, and sticking to their routine. I was not rushing around trying to clean every corner of the house or plan perfect meals. I was not worried about anyone being upset over small things. For the first time in a long time, I felt like the house truly belonged to us. Still, I knew the silence would not last forever. One afternoon, as I was folding laundry, my phone buzzed. It was a message from my mother. We've been thinking about your decision. I still believe it is unfair, but I suppose we have no choice. If we want to see the children, we will look into other places to stay. I sat down on the bed and let out a deep breath. It was not the warmest message, but it was something. She was not yelling or accusing. She was trying at least a little. A few days later, my father also sent a message. He had found a small rental nearby and asked if I could check it out before he booked it. It was a cottage about 15 minutes away from our house. I looked it up online. It was not fancy, but it was clean, quiet, and comfortable. I replied, yes, it looks perfect. Let me know if you need help with the payment. Texted back, appreciate it. I think I can manage. I felt a wave of relief wash over me. For the first time in years, it seemed like maybe we could make this work. The next few weeks flew by. My father's visit was coming up fast. I kept waiting for the nerves to return, but they did not. I did not feel tense or anxious. I still had moments of worry. What if he changed his mind? What if he showed up expecting to stay? But mostly, I felt steady. When he arrived, I drove over to meet him at the rental. It was a small white cottage with a little porch and a single rocking chair. My father looked tired, but calm. He gave me a quiet smile. This is cozy, he said. It really is, I replied, handing him the key I had picked up from the owner. Sat on the porch for a bit, just talking about the flight, the weather, and what the kids had been up to. It felt normal. Not forced, not stressful, just two people talking. After a while, we drove back to my house together so he could see the kids. They ran out to greet him, excited and full of energy. He picked up my youngest and twirled her in the air, smiled, thankful that my children could have these sweet moments without all the tension. During his stay, things were different, better. Every morning, he would come over after breakfast, spend a few hours with the kids, then head back to the cottage around dinner time. Sometimes we all went to the park or out for ice cream. He was helpful, but not in the way that made me feel like I owed him anything. He was a guest, not a housemate. And that made all the difference. One evening, while we sat outside watching the kids play, he turned to me. "You know," he said, "this has been one of the best visits I have had in years." I looked at him in surprise. "Really?" He nodded. "I think staying at the cottage helped. I had my own space. Yeah, you had yours. It just worked." I felt tears prick the corners of my eyes. "I am really glad," I said softly. Then he said something that stayed with me. "I know we did not give you an easy childhood. I wish I could go back and fix that. But I respect what you are doing now. You are raising your kids in a home full of love." That is more than I ever did. I did not know what to say. I just reached over and gently touched his hand. In that moment, I felt a small piece of healing take place. It did not erase the past, but it gave me hope for the future. A few weeks after my father left, it was time to prepare for my mother's visit. I did not know if it would go as smoothly, but I stayed hopeful. She called a few days before her flight. "I still do not like it," she said, "but I booked a room." I thanked her and told her how much the kids were looking forward to seeing. Her visit was different from my dad's. She was more opinionated, more involved, more used to being in control, but still, having her stay somewhere else made things better. She had her space. I had mine. There were moments when she seemed upset, and times when she would say, "In my day, daughters respected their mothers more." She never packed her bags or demanded to stay in our guest room. She stayed at the rental. She visited each day. And by the end of her trip, even she admitted it had gone better than she expected. "I guess this works for now," she said, hugging the kids goodbye. "It really does," I replied. Setting boundaries had not broken our family, had helped us for so long. I had been afraid to stand up for myself. I thought saying no meant I was being a bad daughter. But now I understood that saying no could be an act of love for me and for my family. I was modeling something important for my kids. I was showing them that it is okay to protect your peace, that it is okay to ask for space, that it is okay to choose calm over chaos, and just maybe, I was also teaching my parents something new too. Months passed since both my parents had come to visit. Life slowly returned to normal. The kids were back to school and sports. My spouse and I were working hard, but things felt steady. The house stayed peaceful. There were no surprise complaints, no quiet tension, no worries about who needed what at every hour of the day. I did not realize how heavy the visits had been until they were over. Before, I had thought I was doing the right thing by letting them stay. I thought I was being respectful, and that as their daughter, I had to open my home no matter what. But now, after finally drawing that line, I saw everything more clearly. My home is not just a building. It is a safe place. A place where my children laugh and grow. A place where my spouse and I drink tea on quiet evenings. A place where I can take deep breaths, read books in silence, and wake up without anxiety about who is in the kitchen. I'd spent years keeping the peace on the outside, while letting stress build on the inside. It took time and courage, but setting boundaries had been the kindest thing I had ever done for myself. One evening, while tucking the kids into bed, my oldest daughter looked up at me. "Are Grandma and Grandpa going to live here again next time they visit?" I smiled gently. "No, honey, they will stay at their own places nearby." She looked relieved. "Good, because it is weird when they stay too long. I like it better like this." Her words made me pause. Even my children had noticed the difference. Sometimes we forget how much kids pick up. They see and hear more than we realize. When the house was full of tension, they felt it too. When I was stressed, they felt it. Now, they were more relaxed, more free. The change was not just for MIT, was for them too. A few weeks later, my mother called. I was nervous when I saw her name pop up, but I answered anyway. "Hello?" "Hi, love," she said, sounding softer than usual. "I wanted to say thank you." "For what?" "For being firm. I still do not like the arrangement, but..." The kids seemed happy, and I slept better not having to live out of someone else's kitchen. I was surprised, but glad. "Thank you, ma'am. That means a lot." We talked for a while. She told me about a neighbor's birthday party and asked about the children's school. It was one of the easiest conversations we had had in years. Later that night, my spouse sat beside me on the couch. "You did it," they said, smiling. "I guess I did," I whispered. We held hands, looking around our cozy living room. Toys scattered on the floor, the soft glow of the lamp, the smell of something sweet baking in the oven. This was our life. This was our home. And now it felt whole. Looking back, I do not regret anything. Yes, it was difficult. Yes, it caused some hard feelings at first. But I had spent most of my life putting my comfort last. I was not doing that anymore. Setting boundaries with family is not about being unkind. It is about being honest. It is about protecting the peace you have worked so hard to build. It is about making your home a place that feels safe, warm, and happy, not just for your guests, but for yourself and your children. If you are reading this and struggling with something similar, know this. It is okay to say no. It is okay to want quiet. It is okay to make your own choices. You are allowed to grow, even if it makes others uncomfortable. And sometimes, setting a boundary is not the end of a relationship, is the beginning of a better one. Asking my sister-in-law to rub sunscreen on my back when I have back acne. My name is Claire, and I am 31 years old. This story happened one sunny weekend, during a trip to the beach with my family. The people with me were my mom, who is 53 years old, my younger brother James, who is 28, and his wife Emma, who is 26. It was supposed to be a calm and happy day. We all wanted a break from our busy lives. The beach is one of my favorite places. I love the sound of the waves and the feel of warm sand between my toes. My mom enjoys the beach too, and it had been a long time since we all had a day to relax together. Now, there is something about me I should tell you. I have really bad acne on my back. It is not just a few little spots, it covers a large part of my upper and middle back. It is something I have been dealing with for years. I have tried all kinds of creams and washes, and I even saw a doctor about it. But no matter what I try, the acne just does not go away. It makes me feel embarrassed. Sometimes, especially in the summer when everyone wears clothes that show more skin. Still, I wanted to enjoy the beach and have a good time with my family. I wore a swimsuit with a loose shirt over it. When we got to the beach, we set up our big umbrella and laid out our towels. The sun was shining bright, and the air smelled like salt and sunscreen. Before going into the water, we all needed to put on sunscreen. The sun was strong, and we did not want to get sunburned. My mom asked Emma, my sister-in-law, if she could help her rub sunscreen on her back. Emma said, of course, with a kind smile, and gently helped my mom. She did not seem bothered at all. Emma is a quiet person. I do not know her very well, even though she has been married to my brother for over a year now. We have not spent much time together, but she always seems sweet and polite. She has this gentle way about her, like someone who wants to make others feel comfortable. After Emma finished helping my mom, I felt a little nervous, but decided to ask her for help too. "Emma, Would you mind putting sunscreen on my back as well? I asked. I cannot reach it. She looked at me and smiled. Sure, she said softly, no problem. So I sat down in front of her, and she began to gently rub sunscreen on my back. I felt a little self-conscious because of my acne, but she did not say anything about it. She was calm and careful, just like she had been with my mom. I was thankful and told her so. Thank you, Emma, I said. I really appreciate it, she nodded and smiled again. You are welcome. After that, we all went into the water. The waves were just the right size, not too big or too small. We laughed, splashed, and enjoyed the day. Even though I felt nervous earlier, the beach helped me feel free and happy. We stayed until the sun began to go down. The sky turned orange and pink, and the air became cooler. We packed up our things and started heading home. Everyone seemed to be in a good mood, or so I thought. That evening, something happened that made my heart sink. When we got back, James pulled me aside. His voice was low and serious. Claire, he said, I need to talk to you. I looked at him, surprised. Sure, I said. What is going on? He took a deep breath and looked upset. You should not have asked Emma to put sunscreen on your back, he said. She told me it made her very uncomfortable. I blinked. I had not expected that at all. What? She said she was fine with it. She did not seem uncomfortable, I replied. James shook his head. Emma has a lot of problems saying no to people. She has social anxiety. She does not like touching others, especially when it comes to skin that is not healthy. I felt a lump in my throat. You mean my acne? I asked. Yes, he said. I felt like you put her in a hard spot. She did not want to say no and seem rude, but it was not fair to ask her, Claire. She is not a nurse or a doctor. She should not have to touch diseased skin. Those words stung more than he probably meant them to. I looked down at the ground. My face felt hot. I did not think of my skin as diseased. I knew it looked bad, but hearing it described that way made me feel ashamed. I did not know, I said quietly. I would not have asked if I thought it would make her uncomfortable. James nodded but did not soften. Please think next time before putting her in that kind of situation. I nodded, still feeling confused and sad. I am sorry. Later that night, Emma was still kind and sweet to both me and my mom. She smiled and chatted gently, as if nothing had happened, but James stayed cold. He barely talked to me, and when he did, he sounded tense. It felt like a shadow had fallen. Over the whole day, I went to bed that night feeling like I had done something wrong, even though I had not meant to. I wished things had gone differently. I wished I had known more about Emma's feelings and health. I just wanted to feel included and cared for, and so, what started as a beautiful day at the beach ended with a heavy heart and a quiet room. The next morning I woke up early. The beach trip was still fresh in my mind, and I kept thinking about what James had said to me. His words echoed in my head. It was inconsiderate of you, and she should not have to touch diseased skin. I had not slept well, and my heart felt heavy. I walked into the kitchen, hoping a cup of tea would calm my thoughts. My mom was already there, sitting at the table and reading a magazine. She looked up and smiled. Good morning, honey, she said. Good morning, I replied quietly, sitting down beside her. She looked at me closely. Are you okay? You look a little sad. I paused, then nodded slowly. I had a talk with James last night, I said. He was upset that I asked Emma to help with my sunscreen. He said she felt really uncomfortable. My mom's smile faded, and she put down her magazine. Oh dear, she said softly. I saw her put sunscreen on your back. She did not seem upset. I thought so too, I said. But James said she has a hard time saying no to people, and that she has social anxiety. I did not know that. He said it was wrong of me to ask her. My mom sighed and looked thoughtful. Well, it sounds like Emma is very sweet, and she probably did not want to hurt your feelings. But maybe James is just being a bit too protective. I nodded, but I still felt unsure. I also said it was wrong to ask someone to touch my back because of my acne. He called it diseased skin. Mom's eyes widened a little. Claire, that is a terrible thing to say. Your skin is just going through a rough time. It does not make you any less lovable or kind. You have nothing to be ashamed of. Smiled a little, feeling some warmth return to my chest. Thanks, Mom. She reached over and squeezed my hand. Sometimes people say things out of worry or fear. James probably just wants to protect Emma. That does not mean he meant to hurt you. But you have every right to feel hurt by his words. I nodded slowly. I think I should talk to Emma, I said. Not to apologize again, but to ask her how she felt. I want to hear it from her, not just from James. My mom gave me a gentle smile. That sounds like a good idea. Later that afternoon, I found Emma sitting on the porch. She was reading a book and sipping lemonade. She looked peaceful, with her long brown hair tucked behind her ears and the sunlight glowing on her face. I walked over and sat beside her. Hey, Emma, I said softly. She looked up and smiled. Hi, Claire, how are you? I am okay, I said. Hey, I wanted to talk to you about something, if that is all right. Sure, she said kindly, closing her book. I looked down at my hands for a moment before speaking. James told me you felt uncomfortable yesterday when I asked you to help with sunscreen. I'm really sorry. I had no idea. You seemed fine, and I would never have asked if I thought it would bother you. Emma was quiet for a few seconds. Then she nodded. Thank you for saying that, she said. I did feel a little nervous about it, but I also did not want to upset you or your mom. I have a hard time saying no sometimes, especially when people are kind to me. I looked up at her. You could have said no. I would have understood. She gave me a small smile. I know, but it is something I am still learning. I do not like to disappoint people. And yes, your back acne did make me feel a little unsure. Not because I think there is something wrong with you, just because I do not really know how to deal with skin stuff. And I get anxious about touching people. That makes sense, I said. I wish I had known that before. Asked someone else, or done it myself. She nodded again. I appreciate that. And please know, I am not mad at you. I think you are a very kind person. I just get nervous sometimes. And James, well, he is very protective of me. I noticed, I said with a small laugh. We both smiled. I think he just wants to make sure I do not feel overwhelmed, she added. But sometimes he speaks without thinking how his words might make someone else feel, I said, nodding. What he said about my skin really hurt. I'm sorry about that, Emma said gently. You do not deserve to feel bad about something you cannot control. Thank you, I said. We sat there for a while, just enjoying the soft breeze and the sound of birds in the trees. Talking to Emma helped me feel better. She had not been angry or judging me. She had just been nervous, and I could understand. That, after a few minutes, she turned to me and said, Claire, I hope we can get to know each other more. I know we have not spent much time together, but I really do want to. I smiled. I would like that too. We spent the rest of the afternoon talking, nothing serious, just fun little stories about our favorite books, movies, and foods. I learned that Emma loved animals and used to volunteer at an animal shelter. She learned that I enjoyed painting, even though I was not very good at it. That day, I realized that sometimes people carry quiet worries inside them that we cannot see. Emma's kindness had not changed, even though she felt nervous. And I was learning that my skin, no matter what it looked like, did not make me any less worthy of kindness. That evening, James still seemed a little quiet. But when he saw me and Emma laughing together at dinner, He softened a bit. Maybe he realized that his sister and his wife were not as different as he had thought, and just maybe, our family was growing a little closer even through small misunderstandings. Next few days felt calmer. After my talk with Emma, I felt like a weight had been lifted from my shoulders. She had been honest with me, and I appreciated that so much. Knowing she was not upset and that she truly wanted to build a better relationship gave me a warm feeling. Inside, we spent more time together, small moments, but meaningful ones. We helped my mom cook dinner, went on walks by the lake, and even played a card game one evening while James watched quietly from the couch. Emma laughed softly whenever I told a silly joke, and she told me about the new book she had started. Reading, it felt like a friendship was gently blooming between us. Even though Emma and I were growing closer, James still acted a bit cold toward me. He was not rude, but his tone was flat, and he kept his distance. I could tell he was still upset about what had happened. And to be honest, that hurt. James and I had always been close growing up. As kids, we used to build blanket forts in the living room, stay up late talking, and protect each other from bullies at school. I missed that version of him, the fun, easygoing brother who made me laugh and always had my back. One afternoon, while Emma and Mom were out shopping for groceries, I found James in the backyard watering the plants. He looked up when he saw me and gave a small nod, but he did not say anything. "Hey," I said gently. "Do you have a minute?" Paused, then put the hose down and nodded. "Sure." I walked over and sat on the bench under the big oak tree. I sat beside me, though he kept his eyes on the grass. "I talked to Emma," I said. She told me how she felt, and I listened. "I just want you to know that I never meant to make her uncomfortable." He nodded slowly. "She told me you'd talked. I also want to say, the words you used the other night really hurt," I said, calling my skin diseased. "That made me feel ashamed. I've been dealing with this acne for years. I already feel embarrassed about it." I did not need to hear something like that from my own brother. James stayed quiet for a moment, and he sighed and looked at me. "I was upset," he said. "I was trying to protect Emma. She was really shaken up after the beach. I guess I said some things I should not have. I understand wanting to protect her," I said. "But you could have talked to me with kindness. I would have listened. You did not need to make me feel like something was wrong with me." He nodded again. "You are right. I am sorry, Claire. I was too harsh. I did not mean to make you feel bad about your skin." "Thank you," I said. "That means a lot." James took a deep breath and finally looked me in the eye. "Ma and I are still learning how to handle situations like this. Her anxiety makes things tricky sometimes, and I get overprotective. I guess I still have a lot to learn. We all do," I said with a soft smile. "No one gets everything right." James smiled back, just a little. It was the first real smile I had seen from him since the beach. "I do not want things to be weird between us," I added. "You are my brother. I love you." He gave me a quiet laugh. "I love you too, Claire, even when we mess up." We sat together under the tree for a while, not saying much, but feeling more at peace. Sometimes words are not needed when hearts are finally calm. That night at dinner, things felt lighter. James cracked a joke about Mom's slightly burnt potatoes, and we all laughed. Emma smiled warmly at both of us, and I could tell she was happy to see us getting along again. After dinner, we all helped clean the kitchen. Emma and I washed dishes side by side, and she handed me the sponge with a grin. "You missed a spot?" she teased. I laughed. "You are turning into a real troublemaker. I learned from the best," she said, giving me a playful nudge. It was such a small moment, but it filled me with joy. A few days ago, we had both felt uncomfortable, uncertain, and distant. Now we were teasing and laughing like old friends. It reminded me that even uncomfortable moments can help people grow closer if we are willing to listen and learn from each other. Later that evening, I sat alone in my room and looked in the mirror, and my back acne was still there red. bumpy and far from perfect. But for the first time in a while, I did not feel ashamed. I saw a person who had handled a hard situation with honesty and care. I saw someone who was learning to love herself even when things were not easy. I also realized that everyone is dealing with something even if we cannot see it. Emma hides her anxiety behind a soft smile. James hides his worry behind sharp words, and I hide my embarrassment under a loose t-shirt. But little by little, we had opened up to one another. We had started to build a space where we could feel safe, even with our imperfections. That is what family is about. The weekend slowly came to an end, and as our time together wrapped up, I felt more at peace than I had in a long time. Day had started with something smaller, simple request for help, but had led to something much bigger. It had helped all of us grow. On Sunday morning, we all gathered on the porch to enjoy breakfast together. The weather was warm, with a gentle breeze blowing through the trees. Birds chirped in the distance, and the scent of toast and fresh fruit filled the air. Mom poured orange juice into our glasses, and James passed the butter and jam around the table. Emma sat beside me, wearing a soft yellow sweater and her usual calm smile. She looked relaxed, and I felt a little proud knowing that we had gotten through something uncomfortable and come out kinder and closer because of it. As we ate, Mom brought up the idea of making another beach trip in a few weeks. We should all go again, she said cheerfully. Maybe bring a picnic next time. That sounds great, I said. Emma nodded. I would love that, James smiled. As long as no one forgets the sunscreen, he joked. We all laughed, even me. That moment felt like a warm hug. Not because it was perfect, but because it was real. We had gone through a misunderstanding, talked it through, and now we were stronger for it. After breakfast, I helped Emma clean up the dishes. As we rinsed plates and stacked them on the drying rack, she turned to me and said, Claire, I have been thinking about everything that happened. I just want you to know that I admire how you handled everything. I blinked, surprised. Really? She nodded. Yes, you could have ignored it or gotten upset, but instead you talked to me, listened, and were kind. That is not always easy to do. I felt a warm glow in my chest. Thank you, Emma. That means a lot, she smiled. I am also learning how to speak up more. I told James he cannot always protect me by speaking for me. I need to learn to say how I feel too. I grinned. We are both learning then? Yes, she said with a little laugh. And I think we are doing okay. We finished the dishes and went to join James and Mom in the living room. They were watching an old comedy show and laughing together. I sat down on the floor beside the couch and leaned back against the soft cushions. The room felt full, not just with people, but with something invisible and strong. Love, trust, respect. Later that day, it was time for everyone to go home. We packed our bags, hugged each other goodbye, and promised to meet again soon. As I waved to James and Emma from the front porch, I felt thankful, not just for the beach trip, but for everything that came after. It would have been easy for that one moment, asking Emma to rub sunscreen on my back to turn into something that pulled us apart, but because we chose to talk, to be honest, and to listen, it turned into something that brought us closer. I learned that everyone has invisible struggles. Mine was back acne, which made me feel self-conscious and uncomfortable. Mez was anxiety and the fear of saying no. And James's was his deep desire to protect the people he loves. We all had something to learn, and we did. That night, back at my own house, I stood in front of the mirror once again. I looked at my back, at the acne I used to be ashamed of, and this time I smiled. Not because it had gone away, but because I had grown stronger. Because I knew I was more than my skin. I put on my favorite soft pajama shirt and crawled into bed. I felt cozy and calm, the kind of calm that only comes after a storm has passed and the sun has come out again. As I drifted off to sleep, I thought about Emma's quiet smile, James's apology, and my mom's gentle encouragement. I thought about how something so small, just a bit of sunscreen, could lead to something so big: understanding, healing, and love. And I knew, deep in my heart, that I was not alone. I was surrounded by people who cared, even if we were all still learning how. To show it, that was enough. That was everything. Telling my brother-in-law I will never forgive his daughter, and I have no intention of ever having her near my family. Once upon a time, in a quiet little town, there lived a kind woman named Sarah. She was 30 years old and had a gentle heart. Sarah was married to Daniel, a calm and thoughtful man who was 35. The two of them were very happy because they had just become parents to a sweet baby boy, only 6 months old. Their house was always warm, filled with laughter, love, and soft baby giggles. Sarah also had a big sister named Emma. Emma was the same age as Daniel and had a family of her own. She was married to Joe, who was 40 years old, and together they lived with Emma's son Kevin, who was 14. Joe had a daughter from before, named Kelly, who was 15. All of them were learning how to live together as one big family. It was not always easy, but everyone tried their best. One sunny afternoon, Sarah and Daniel decided to have a small get-together at their house. It was Sarah's birthday, and they wanted to celebrate it with just the closest people in their lives. So they invited Emma, Joe, Kevin, and Kelly, along with their parents. It was a simple and happy day. Everyone smiled, ate cake, played with the baby, and shared stories. Nothing strange or bad happened. The day ended with warm hugs and sleepy goodbyes. But a few days later, something very unexpected happened. Kevin, Sarah's teenage nephew, came to visit her and Daniel. His face looked serious and worried. After sitting down, Kevin said softly, "Aunt Sarah, I need to tell you something. It is about Kelly. She told some kids at school something that is not true. She said that during your birthday party, she saw Uncle Daniel in the bathroom, and that his pants were down." Sarah's heart dropped. Her mouth opened in shock. She could not believe what she was hearing. "What?" she asked, confused. She said he walked in while she was in the bathroom and his private part was out, Kevin said, looking very uncomfortable. Sarah blinked. This could not be real. She knew Daniel better than anyone. He was careful, respectful, and kind. He would never walk into a bathroom like that, especially not with guests around. And never in a million years would he behave that way, not even by accident. Something was not right. Sarah gently thanked Kevin for telling her, then sat in silence for a long time. Her hands were shaking. What if Kelly told this to more people? What if someone believed it? Daniel could get in very big trouble for something. He never did. So Sarah made a decision. She called everyone who had been at the birthday party and asked them to come to her parents' house. She needed to talk to them all together. When they arrived, the room was quiet and tense. Sarah looked at Kelly, who was sitting nervously with her hands in her lap. "Kelly," Sarah said gently, "Kevin told me something very serious. He said you told your friends that you saw Daniel in the bathroom and that he was exposed. Is that true?" Kelly's eyes filled with tears right away. She began to shake and finally nodded. Double quotes, "Yes," she whispered, her voice cracking. "I did say that, but it is not true. I made it up. I am so sorry." The room went silent. Everyone stared at her. Sarah felt her face grow hot with anger. "Why?" she asked. "Why would you lie about something so terrible?" Kelly sobbed. "All my friends have stories about being with boys or kissing or something. I have nothing. I have never done anything. I felt left out, so I just made something up. I thought they would think I was cool." Sarah could not hold her feelings in any longer. She stood up and shouted, "You risked everything for my family. You lied about something that could ruin Daniel's whole life. Do you even understand what you did?" Tears ran down Sarah's face as she pointed to her baby. "He is only 6 months old. You wanted to seem cool and you almost tore his family apart." Kelly sobbed harder, but Sarah could not calm down. She looked at her parents, at Emma, at Joe. "I will never bring my family near Kelly again," she said firmly. "Now, not ever." Everyone looked heartbroken, but no one argued. That night, the air in the house felt heavy. Something inside the family had broken. And though everyone hoped it could be fixed, Sarah knew in her heart that some things are too serious to forget. After that difficult evening at her parents' house, Sarah felt like the world had turned upside down. She held her baby in her arms and looked at him while he slept. So small and innocent. She thought about how easily things could have gone wrong if someone had believed Kelly's lie. Daniel could have lost his job. The police might have gotten involved. Their whole life could have changed in a moment, all because a teenager wanted to fit in. Sarah's heart was heavy, but she had made up her mind. She would never allow Kelly near her home, near her husband, or near her son again. It was not out of hate, but out of protection. Her job was to keep her family safe, even from people they once trusted. The next day, Kevin, Emma's son, came back to stay with Sarah and Daniel for a little while. He felt confused and hurt by what his stepsister had done. He had once thought of her as a friend. They went to the same school, had the same friends, and even shared secrets sometimes. But now everything felt different. "I do not understand why she did it," Kevin said one afternoon as he sat at the kitchen table with Daniel. Daniel smiled gently and poured Kevin a glass of orange juice. "Sometimes people do strange things when they are trying to be liked," Daniel said. "That does not make it right. But it means they are still learning how to be honest and kind." Kevin nodded slowly. "Told everyone at school the truth," he said. "Did not want them to think badly of you. I told them Kelly made it up." Daniel placed a hand on Kevin's shoulder. "Thank you, Kevin. That means a lot." Meanwhile, Emma and Joe had a very hard talk with the school. They met with the principal and explained everything. The principal was serious but understanding, said he would make sure no teachers or school staff believed the story Kelly had told. The truth was now clear, but it had still left a deep mark. Back at Emma's home, things were no longer peaceful. Emma loved her son Kevin more than anything. She needed to make sure he felt safe and protected, even though Kelly was her stepdaughter. She knew she could not live under the same roof as Kevin anymore. What if Kelly told another lie? What if someone got hurt? Emma made the hard choice. Kelly would have to go live with her mother full-time. It was not an easy decision. Joe was heartbroken. He loved his daughter. He knew she had made a terrible mistake, but he also knew she was only 15, still a child in so many ways. But no matter how much he wanted to protect her, he also understood why Emma needed to put Kevin first. So, with tears in his eyes, Joe packed some of Kelly's things and took her to her mother's house. Kelly did not say much. She cried, hugged her dad tightly and whispered, "I am sorry." Then she walked into her mother's house and closed the door. Days turned into weeks. Joe looked tired and sad all the time. He still came to family dinners, but there was a deep sadness in his eyes. He tried to smile and talk like usual. Everyone could tell he missed his daughter. One evening, after dinner, Joe pulled Sarah aside. "Can we talk?" he asked gently. Sarah nodded and followed him into the living room. "I want to ask something," Joe said, looking down at his hands. "I know you are angry. I know what Kelly did was very, very wrong. She is sorry. She cries every night. She asked me to tell you that she wants to apologize to you and Daniel in person. Sarah's face stayed still. Her heart felt tight. She had already decided she would not let Kelly near her family again. She had a responsibility to protect her husband and her child. She should not bother, Sarah said softly. We do not need her apology. It will not change what happened. I do not think I can ever trust her again, and trust is everything. Joe looked even sadder now. I know, he whispered, but she is just a teenager. She made a terrible mistake. If you could forgive her, maybe Emma would too, and maybe Kelly could come back home one day. I know it is a lot to ask. Sarah shook her head gently. A mistake is forgetting to do homework, she said. A mistake is losing your phone. What Kelly did could have ruined someone's life. Daniel's life, my son's future. I cannot risk that again. Joe did not argue. He nodded slowly. I understand, he said. I just wish things were different. I do too, Sarah replied. That night, Sarah watched her baby sleep and thought about everything. She was not a cruel person. She did not enjoy holding on to anger. But some things are too big to ignore, even when you want to. She hoped Kelly learned from this. She hoped she grew into a better person. But Sarah knew that her job was not to teach Kelly a lesson. Her job was to protect her family, and that is what she would do. The days kept moving, one by one, and even though life returned to normal in many ways, there was still a quiet sadness that hung over the family. Sarah continued to care for her baby, singing lullabies and rocking him gently to sleep each night. Daniel returned to work, always calm and steady, just like before, but inside their hearts, they both carried the weight of what had happened. Sometimes, Sarah would look out the window and wonder if she had made the right choice. She thought about Kelly, just a teenage girl who had made a big mistake. Sarah did not want to hate her, but every time she pictured Daniel's face when he heard the lie, every time she imagined what could have happened if someone had believed it, her heart tightened again. She thought about how Daniel had stayed strong through it all. He had not shouted or gotten angry. He had simply told her, "We will get through this together." That reminded her why she loved him so much. One afternoon, Sarah sat in her living room folding tiny baby clothes when Kevin came downstairs. He had been staying with them for a few more days because Emma needed time to sort things out. He held his phone in his hand and looked unsure about something. "Aunt Sarah?" he asked softly. "Yes, sweetheart. Kelly sent me a message. She wanted me to ask if she could send a letter to say sorry. She said she will not ask to come back or anything. She just wants to write." Sarah paused. She looked at Kevin, at his kind eyes, and felt a mix of emotions. She did not want to be cruel. She believed in second chances, but she also believed in safety and truth. "Kevin," she said gently, "I know this is hard for you. I know you and Kelly were close once, and I do believe she feels sorry, but I need time. Right now, I need to focus on your baby cousin. I need to keep our home safe and peaceful. Do you understand?" Kevin nodded slowly. "Yes, I do understand." That evening, when Emma came to pick Kevin up, she and Sarah sat on the porch for a while. The sun was setting, painting the sky with soft orange and pink colors. For a moment, they just sat in silence, rocking in their chairs like they used to when they were little girls. "She wants to come home," Emma said finally. "Kelly told Joe she will do anything to come back. She even offered to go to counseling." Sarah nodded but did not speak right away. "I want to forgive her," Emma added. "I really do. But I also cannot forget what happened. If she could lie so easily about Daniel, what if she makes up something about Kevin one day? He is my son. I have to keep him safe." "I know," Sarah said. "That is how I feel too." Emma reached over and held Sarah's hand. "This is The hardest thing I have ever had to do. I love Joe. I care about Kelly. But being a mom means making choices that hurt sometimes. I just hope she learns from this. I really hope so." Sarah squeezed her sister's hand. "Me too." In the days that followed, Kelly's name was not spoken much anymore. Life slowly went on. Joe continued to visit, though he was quieter than before. He smiled less, but he still helped carry groceries or fix the wobbly porch step. Still played with the baby and always asked Sarah, "How is he doing today?" Even when his own heart was heavy, Daniel and Sarah tried their best to bring back laughter and joy to their home. They spent weekends baking cookies, going on short walks with the baby stroller, and reading stories out loud in silly voices. Slowly, the feeling of fear began to fade, and love filled their hearts again. One evening, while Daniel was tucking their baby into bed, Sarah sat on the couch and looked at a photo on the wall. It was from her birthday, the day before everything changed. Everyone in the picture was smiling, including Kelly. Her face looked carefree and happy, as if nothing bad could ever happen. Sarah sighed. She knew Kelly was just a teenager trying to find her way, but her lie had caused real harm. And while forgiveness was something Sarah believed in, it was not something she could give easily right now. Not when the memory still hurt. The photo would stay on the wall, but it would always remind Sarah that trust is a delicate thing, easy to lose, and hard to rebuild. She whispered to herself, "I hope she learns. I really do. But my first promise is to my family, and I will always keep them safe." As more time passed, Sarah found herself thinking about the whole situation less and less. Life with a baby was full of little surprises. One day, it was learning to roll over. Another day, it was the baby saying his first soft sounds that sounded like words. Every new giggle made Sarah's heart feel full again. But some evenings, when the house was quiet and the baby was asleep in his crib, Sarah would sit by the window with a cup of tea and think about Joe. Joe, her brother-in-law, had always been a good man. He was respectful, helpful, and kind. He had welcomed Sarah and Daniel into his life with open arms when he married Emma. He treated Kevin like his own son. And even when Kelly made a choice that hurt the whole family, Joe had never raised his voice or gotten angry. He had only been sad. Sarah knew that part of Joe was still holding out hope that someday someone in the family might forgive Kelly. And just maybe, Kelly would be able to come home again. But Sarah also knew something else. Some actions, even when done by children, had deep consequences. Lies about serious things, like what Kelly had said, could ruin lives. She had almost ruined Daniel's life. And for that reason, Sarah could not let Kelly back into their lives. One afternoon, Joe came to visit. He helped Emma carrying groceries, and then asked if he could talk to Sarah. She agreed, and they sat on the back porch. Where a light breeze blew through the trees, Joe spoke softly. "She wrote another letter," he said, "this time to me. Said she understands now that she crossed a line that should never be crossed. She said she is not expecting forgiveness anymore. She just wants everyone to know she is trying to be better." Sarah listened. She could see how tired Joe looked. Being in the middle of it all must have been so hard, loving his daughter while also respecting the pain she had caused. "Joe," she said after a moment, "I believe she is trying. I really do. I hope she becomes a good woman. I hope she learns from this and never lies like that again." Joe nodded slowly, but Sarah continued, "I still cannot have her near my family. I cannot take that risk. Daniel deserves to feel safe. My son deserves to grow up in a home that is free from fear." So, my answer is the same. She stays away. Joe looked down at his hands. He gave a slow nod. I understand, he said. I wish it were different, but thank you for hearing me. I will always care about you, Joe, Sarah said gently, and I hope you know that. That evening, Sarah told Daniel everything Joe had said. Daniel hugged her and whispered, "You are doing what is right." Emma decided to continue having Kelly live with her biological mother. They still saw each other from time to time, but Kelly was no longer part of the daily family life. Kevin was calmer and happier again. Emma never stopped loving Joe, but she made it clear that her son's safety would always come first. Sometimes, Kevin would ask Sarah, "Do you think Kelly will be okay?" Sarah always gave the same answer, "I hope so. I hope she grows up to be honest and kind. That is all any of us can hope for." And in a small way, that was a kind of hope, a gentle one. As the seasons changed, Sarah continued raising her son with love and joy. Daniel remained a strong, quiet support beside her. Emma and Joe worked on rebuilding trust in their own marriage. Kevin smiled more, and even though Kelly was not a part of the family anymore, the lessons from that painful time stayed in everyone's hearts. Because sometimes, stories do not end with hugs and full forgiveness. Sometimes, they end with clear boundaries, quiet, strength, and the promise to protect what matters most. And in that quiet promise, Sarah found peace.